Good morning, class. I hope you feel excited and ready for today's lesson. Let me start with one question. Have you ever read something so powerful that it made you feel like you were transported to another time and place? That is the magic of literature. Writers use words not just to tell a story, but to paint a vivid pictures of the past, present, and even the future. One of the tools they use to do this is what we call verb tenses. Today, we'll combine the beauty of literature and the power of grammar. Together, we'll explore how verb tenses, present, past, and future help bring stories to life. And what better way to do that than by diving into one of the most beloved story of all time, the Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. Now let me introduce to you our learning objectives. By the end of today's lesson, you'll be able to explain the different verb tenses, present, past, and future and their functions in the context. Identify the use of verb tenses in Romeo and Juliet. Analyze how Shakespeare's choice of verb tenses influenced the mood and tone of his writing. And before we dive into the play, let's warm up with a fun activity that will get us thinking about verb tenses in action. Are you ready? The game called Verb Tense Ball Toes. Form groups of four and come up with a creative group name. Write it on a quarter sheet of paper and submit it to the teacher. Together with a group, think of one question related to verb tenses in literature. Focus on how verb tenses help create meaning or mood in a text. Write your questions on a piece of scratch paper and turn it into a handmade paper ball. Once all groups are ready, we'll toss the paper balls to each other. If you catch a ball, open it, read the question aloud, and answer it with your group. Then toss it to another group. Remember, teamwork is key. Take turns answering and don't forget to explain your ideas clearly. That was awesome, class! Now you already have the idea about what is verb tenses, present, past, and future, and how these function in a context. Now let me introduce to you Sir Mel to tell us what are the examples of verb tenses in the excerpts of William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to explore an important aspect of writing and literature, the verb tenses. Understanding how different tenses work can enhance our comprehension of text and the emotion they convey. Let's dive in. First, let's define the three main verb tenses we'll be discussing today. The present tense. This tense describes actions that are happening right now or expresses general truths. For example, she walks to school every day. Second, past tense. This tense is used for actions that have already occurred. An example would be, he walked to school yesterday. Lastly, future tense. These tense describe actions that will happen later. For instance, they will walk to school tomorrow. Now, let's look at a famous line from Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet. The original line is, "Wilt thou leave me so unsatisfied?" This line uses a mix of future and present tense, which creates a sense of urgency and anticipation. The character is not just asking about a future action, they are expressing a deep emotional need in the moment. Now, let's modify this line into the past tense. You left me so unsatisfied. By changing the tense, we shift to a reflective tone. This alteration changes the mood entirely. The urgency is replaced by a sense of loss or nostalgia. Let's break down how these changes affect our understanding. In the original line, The future present mix makes us feel the character's immediate desperation. It pulls us into the moment. In the modified line, the past tense creates a distance. We're no longer in the heat of the moment. Instead, we're reflecting on what has already happened. Alright, class, now that we've discussed verbs, tenses, and how they can impact the meaning and emotional tone of a text, it's time to put that knowledge into practice with a fun activity. The verb tense scavenger hunt. I'll divide you into groups of 3. Each group will receive an excerpt from Romeo and Juliet, specifically Act 1, Scene 5, which features the dialogue between Romeo and Juliet. Your task will be to identify the different verb tenses used in this text. Here's what you will do. Identify verb tenses. As you read through the excerpt, highlight or underline the verbs. Then, classify them into 3 categories: present, past, and future. Create a table. Use a piece of paper to create a table with 3 columns, one of each verb tenses. List the verbs you find under the appropriate tense. Discuss the mood and tone. Once you've disorganized your verbs, discuss within your groups how each tense contributes to the mood and tone of the scene. Consider questions like how the present tense create immediacy. What feelings are evoked by past tense reflections? Does any future tense create anticipation or hope? After you've completed your tables and discussions, each group will share your findings with the class. Be prepared to explain how the verb tenses you identified influence the emotional impact of this pivotal scene between Romeo and Juliet. Great job on the scavenger hunt, everyone! Now, let's take some time to reflect on what we've learned about verb tenses and their emotional impact in Romeo and Juliet. I'd like you to consider this question. How does Shakespeare's use of verb tenses affect the emotional tone of Romeo and Juliet's conversation in Act 1, Scene 5? What impact do the verb tenses have on the characters' emotions and actions? In your group, discuss your insights. Think about how the different tenses, present, past, and future, shape the urgency, passion, and reflection in their dialogue. Present tense, how does it create immediacy or connection? Past tense, what feelings of nostalgia or regret does it evoke? Future tense, does it build anticipation or hope for their relationship? After your discussions, we'll come back together as a class. Each group will share 1 or 2 key points about how verb tenses influence the emotional tones of the scene. Alright, thank you all for your thoughtful participation today. As we conclude our exploration of verb tenses in Romeo and Juliet, remember that these tenses are powerful tools that shape emotional tone and enhance our understanding of characters. By recognizing how Shakespeare uses present, past, and future tenses, you can deepen your appreciation for literature and improve your own writing. Keep observing the impact of verb tenses in your reading. I look forward seeing how you apply these insights in your future works. Thanks, guys. Bye.